Coping with COVID is brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. Visit scdheck.gov for an updated list of testing sites and important information on how to protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC, healthy people, healthy communities. Also, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Log on to columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Center. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their life. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, contact Agape Counseling and Training Center at agapects.com. And Columbia Housing Authority. The agency is looking for stories from former residents of Allen Benedict Court to retain some of the property's rich history. In its 80-year life, Allen Benedict Court has been home to some of the country's elite, including a Grammy Award-winning performer, corporate executives, national television celebrities, a host of doctors, lawyers, and NBA greats. So share your pictures, mementos, and memories at chcares@chasc.org. Coping with COVID, brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Columbia Housing Authority, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connection.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
Fight the spread and take a stand against coronavirus. Wear a mask in public. Stay at least 6 feet apart from others. And get tested. Join us and fight the spread. Visit scdheck.gov/COVID-19.
I'm Tre Tailor, and you are watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. As you heard, is brought to you by SCDHEC, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Palmetto Media Connections, and Agape Counseling and Training Center. Listen, if you're having some challenges coping with COVID, please contact the folks at Agape Counseling and Training Center. Well, it's Election Day 2020, and we are giving you info on what you should do, what to expect, and when to expect it. Historian, director of the South Carolina Voter Education Project, Dr. Jim Felder, will join us a little bit later on, along with Washington, D.C.-based journalist Jamila Bay is with us. Hello, Jamila. Thank you so much for joining us, beautiful. I was just getting ready to text you.
I couldn't wait to be here with you. Thank you so much. I was already backstage. I got you.
Thank you, beautiful. I appreciate you, sis. Also, her comedian crush, legendary George Wallace, is going to be joining us. He just texted me asking for the link again. It's going to be one of those days. And also, we're going to talk about faith and politics with Charles Jackson Jr. with New Laurel Street Baptist Church. I see Charles is logged in, but I don't see him backstage. But that and more coming up next on Coping with COVID. But first, your COVID community updates. Well, it is Election Day 2020, and with almost 100 million people already casting their ballots in many locations, lines have not been that long at all. Now, of course, you must vote at your regular polling place, not the satellite locations. And if you have an absentee ballot, do not mail it. Instead, drop it off today at your polling place or in Columbia, South Carolina at 2020 Hampton Street. Polls are open until 7 o'clock tonight. Now, if you have COVID, you can actually still vote. Make sure you're masked up. Alert the polling location and workers, and you can either do curbside or you can go in. Again, you and everyone in the location must be masked and gloved. Several places are providing free rides. We've got a graphic for you to check out where you can get a free ride, including the Comet, Uber, and Lyft, the NAACP, and Levy's Funeral Home. As a matter of fact, all of that information will be scrolling throughout the show. So if you need a ride to the poll, know that you can get a free ride to the poll today. Also, there's free food for poll workers. Check out, we've got a partial list of deals available today, and that information will also be scrolling at the bottom of the screen, including a free Krispy Kreme donut and a free waffle cone from Ben & Jerry's. Good. Now, some locations in South Carolina and across the country are reporting problems this morning, including power outages. Now, Dominion Energy was working this morning on restoring electricity at Rosewood Elementary School, AC Moore, and Han Middle School. SCDHEC has your most up-to-date list of times, dates, and locations for COVID testing and flu testing in and around South Carolina. Check the scroll at the bottom of the screen for information on COVID and flu shots going on in South Carolina this month. Also, if you'd like to host a COVID screening at your event or location, that information will be scrolling at the bottom of the screen, as well as the DHEC care line. Now, you can call that number if you need more information about COVID or about getting a ride to a test. Now, speaking about getting a ride to a test, if you are immobile and unable to be transported in Clarendon and Richland counties, all you have to do is call 911. And those paramedics will actually come in and do a COVID testing in your home. Also, scrolling at the bottom of the screen, right quick information about SC Legal Services and the Bar Association. They've got mortgage and rental help for you, along with the City of Columbia Water Bill Department. They're offering 6-month payment plans. There's some jobs available if you need a job. Amazon and CarMax are both hiring. We've got the graphic right there. Please check that out if you need more information. Again, that will be scrolling throughout the show. And Rashonda Pratt has dedicated an entire YouTube page for virtual learning and virtual working. Please check out her YouTube page and get the information that you need. Now, Coping with COVID is streaming live on the Tailor Made Production, our Facebook page. Please go to my Facebook page and hit like and share. Not only will you be able to watch Coping with COVID Monday through Saturday, but you can get all of your COVID-related updates. We're also streaming live on YouTube. I want to say hi to all the YouTubers. Please hit the subscribe button. And we also want you to like our Instagram page. Well, I am Tre Tailor, and you're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. It's Election Day 2020, and coming up in just a short, author, historian, Dr. Jim Felder will join us. Also, we're waiting to get connected with George Wallace. I'm checking my phone to see if he has texted me once again to say whatever George might say. But before that, we are going to keep the party going with journalist Jamila Bey. Her work has appeared in the New York Times, Washington Post, and NPR, where she was a staffer with All Things Considered, Morning Edition, and Talk of the Nation. The speaker and writer's expertise is culture, race, and politics. And in a twist of events, she'll complete her MA in comedy and satire next spring. And I guess that's why she loves the legendary George Wallace. Jamila, first of all, I've got to get you back on to talk about this comedy and satire thing, because really it goes so well with politics. I mean, that's what Saturday Night Live is all about. So
indeed, the one person who could always get in the king's face and tell him what was who? The jester,
the court jester,
who could say, "Oh, I'm not talking about you, but it's another kingdom where they about to off with his head. It's not you, your highness, but somewhere else." I deeply believe the only difference in comedy and news is, how many drinks you have first, which is changing. It's all about timing and it's all about truth. So,
right. Yeah. Well, I see George is trying to connect up, but we're going to keep going. Marvell Williamson says, great panelists today. Thank you so much, Marvell. She also says COVID is not what you want. Marvell and her partner are experiencing COVID right now. So Marvell, again, our prayers go out to you. So listen, Jamila, we are experiencing one of the most important races, and not only the presidential race. There are so many, and we're in South Carolina, where we are in the midst of the Jamie Harris and Lindsey Graham race. So there are so many important races across the board. Tell me, what do you think? How have African Americans, first of all, let's talk about African Americans. How have African Americans fared as far as the race is concerned?
Oh boy. Well, on the one hand, Black women, the blessing and the curse,
Yeah.
Black women overvote our percentage in the population. When this year is a little bit different, but when pollsters and political scientists, which I technically am, look at how people vote in general in the US, you have the percentage of population, and they say, well, about 65% of white women older than 60 tend to go to the polls and vote. Black women, once they hit 20 years old, actually show up in numbers greater than our population would expect. But we all know that we go to the polls, we bring our mama, we bring our sister, we bring the babysitter's dog groomer with us. We go en masse.
Which, interestingly enough, you didn't mention we don't bring our brothers or our daddies or our sons, but we're going to get to that in a minute.
We have some conversing to do around that.
Yes.
We make the offer. Our daddies and our brothers and our husbands tend to, tell us, y'all go on ahead, and we make sure that we get it done. That is a conversation to have. But we have seen more Black women running. We have seen more Black candidates in general running. We've seen more, first generation Americans running. And I'm gonna leave it to our lovely Latino brothers and our Latina sisters to talk about them. But in terms of melanated people with hair like mine, we are running, we are voting, we are fundraising at levels that we have never seen in history. I think that's fantastic. That's amazing. However, asterisk, we don't get the funding that white candidates tend to get.
Right.
We tend to, we've been making $1 out of 15 cents forever, and we do that in politics. When you see who's running these campaigns, when you see who's managing these campaigns, when you see who's directing the campaigns and speech writing, even in areas where the constituencies are overwhelmingly Black, or statistically, there's a great percentage of Black people. We're not in those positions of power, even with those candidates.
Right.
So there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of, there's a lot of necessity, that it's not enough to just be running a Black candidate. It's not just enough to, be doing one commercial on Black radio,
right?
3 days before election day. The strategists, the media buyers, or whatever. There are a whole lot of people who look like you and I, who are not part of these deeper conversations and these more powerful conversations. And I certainly, for one, hope that's changing. The fact that we're talking about it now gives me some hope.
Yeah, Jamila, you hit a chord with me about the Black radio thing, because so many people don't recognize African Americans listen to the radio the most of any other demographic.
Yes,
I mean,
we do.
get our everything from Black radio.
Yes, we do.
And not only do candidates, Black and white candidates, not recognize the importance of Black radio. As you said, they don't even hire a media buyer in that city that is of color, or in that state, to place the media buys, because sure, you've got your iHearts, your Cumuluses, your Citadels, or even Radio Ones, but then there are those little pockets of shows that may even be on a one-on mom and pop FM, or a little TV show or whatever, or Coping with COVID even, where people are watching and people are loyal. And if you're a big time media buyer, you may not know that, but that's where the pulse is. And it's concerning that even Black candidates, candidates that look like me and you, as you say, and have hair like us, are not recognizing that you've got to, one, have someone placing those buys that know the city, that know the state, that know where Black and brown folks are getting their information.
Absolutely. And so
it's important.
It is important. In this day and age where, papers are folding at the same time as big corporate media is consolidating. So you hear the same voices, you see the same pundits, you get the same bottom line. We who look at a protest and say, that wasn't a riot, those were protesters being set upon. We who look at it and say, these 5 little boys were here and this happened, as opposed to, a gang of teens. The way the stories are structured, the way we look at things, the way we talk to people and get quotes that
Yes,
can't nobody else get.
that's right.
That matters, and it matters in our politics. And for our brothers and sisters who are who work as campaign staffers and campaign directors, this is their year where it's been very apparent, without us, you got a problem.
Yeah.
And so hopefully moving forward, this is a conversation that we don't need to have in quite the same way. We still need to have it, but perhaps it's not as much as, well, why aren't they using, as opposed to, here's how to broaden those who, or here are some of the top ones that you hear everywhere. Let's bring on, because I love her. Donna Brazile, I think, is incredible. Donna Brazile is not the only one.
Yeah, you're right. And neither is Angela Ray. But right, Angela Rye. But I digress. So listen, the collective PAC and you may have seen this, put out these statistics earlier today about female, and this is for African Americans, female, male, other, about the number of people who, again, of color, who voted early. And the thought process is, because of all of this data, and they also have this breaking it down in some of the key states, because of this data, their thought process is the Democrats will win the presidential race. Do you think it's as simple as a lot of Black folks have already voted and will vote?
Okay, so with my political scientist cap on, all things being fair, all systems working as they were designed, break out the champagne and celebrate.
Right.
However, with my cynic cap on, my cap that pays homage to my mamas and my grandmamas and my granddaddies who sharecropped and knew I can show up here to this polling precinct.
Yeah.
They might not let me vote. I can show up here. They might, have some kind of poll tax or poll test, or I don't know what I'm getting into. With great honor being paid to my ancestors who dealt with that, we're seeing some of that again. I am not confident that the votes in all places will be counted as they should be. I'm not confident that where we're hearing power outages, where we're hearing the computers are down in all of Christian County in Missouri, we can't identify you as the voter you claim to be because all of the computers are down. Y'all come back later. I don't, to quote Chuck D, can't trust it.
That's right.
I don't know that the systems in place will work. If they do, well, if the systems in place worked in 2016, there would have been the first woman president. If the systems worked 20 years ago, President Gore would have been leading us. So I have to stand back and say, I know how things are supposed to go. But I feel too much like Charlie Brown looking at that football and I want to go kick it. I know I can make it go far, but is Lucy going to yank it away?
Yeah.
And I wind up on my back. It doesn't matter how good a kicker I am. She has the advantage and she's got the ball. Yeah. So that's the position I'm in. So I'm Charlie today.
Washington, D.C. journalist Jamila Bey joins us on Coping with COVID. Thank you so much for joining us. Please post and share this information out, because we're having a great conversation about what today means, what election day means. Reverend Charles Jackson Jr. is going to join us in just a short to talk about faith and politics. We're still waiting for George Wallace to be able to log on. And then Jim Felder with the South Carolina Voter Education Project is going to give us some updates from the state of South Carolina. So Jamila, listen, when will we know something today? I mean, we've got military votes to count. We've got absentee ballots to count. Almost 1 million people have cast their absentee vote early ballot. And, record numbers of people have come out. So when will we really know something? It won't be at 7:00 when the polls close, obviously. Or 8, maybe.
No.
Or maybe not even midnight.
Everybody expected in 2008 when Barack Obama was running for president that it was going to be a long night into the morning at best. And, by 10 Eastern, it was obvious president was Barack Obama. I think that spoiled us a little bit. I don't expect to know. We know that what this current administration has done is make it so that the Department of Justice is not interested in that term, that concept. We know that they're already deploying their armies of attorneys to gum up the works by filing challenges to everything. So, we don't know, we can't speak yet to, will there be injunctions such that some votes can't get counted? Will there be, if the mechanism works, we could probably know late this evening. Again, I am too, forgive me, cynical, but I'm also a Black woman in America that understands the way things worked here. And then I had the nerve to go and study how our political system works. I am not very confident that we're going to know anything until courts get involved. And when I say court, plural, that could indeed be the Supreme Court. Now, everybody is just forecasting and prognosticating at this moment, to use an Aquila and the B word. We don't know for certain. It is possible that all people are tired of the way this coronavirus has been botched and mishandled. And
that's just one issue. That's just the latest issue.
There are a whole bunch of people who should be, there are a whole bunch of farmers who should be really angry that in 2019, in January 2019, the government shut down such that they couldn't get their funding to come through with their soybeans and their corn and whatnot. And they had to let fields go fallow. And there was a whole lot of sales that American farmers could not make in 2019, because of the chicanery that went on in Washington. They got a check, they got PPP funding that was supposed to go to small businesses. And we look at how many small businesses that are Black owned that got Paycheck Protection Act and small business loan. And we're still just a fraction of, we're a fraction of all the money that went out. There are resources, financial resources that went out, grants that went out that we can't even track down who they went to, and so farmers and rural people who are supposedly the supporters of this current administration, really, people in cities kind of know that they got done over. The people here tend to go, well, we got some PPP funds and we got a stimulus check that had the current occupant of the White House's name right on it. So we're doing all right, but they're not doing all right. The Halloween's my favorite holiday. I stayed home and ate all this candy by myself Thanksgiving, there are going to be empty seats at a whole lot of tables this year. I can't even think to December and New Year's. I can't, my brain can't handle that far out. If we don't believe as Americans, as voters, that this current administration that knew about COVID back last Thanksgiving, while we were all having, turkey and football. Well, I've been boycotting since they wouldn't let Kaepernick play. So and it's a shame because I told my husband, well, he was some dude I was dating at the time, but I told him, look,
artist
buddy,
formerly known as your husband.
I told him, I said, look, buddy, I don't believe in mixed marriages. You keep being Jewish all you want to, but if we go and do this for real, Steelers is my religion and you have to convert. And he did, because he was, I haven't used their name forever, but like the Washington football team, their former name is the one that I was like, yeah, I can't do this. I can't do this. And so last year, when everybody's sitting around having potatoes and turkey and sweet potatoes, this administration was briefed. They knew then how bad this could be. They found out around Christmas time last year that it was way worse and it spread much easier, but we were still thinking that it was a hand-to-hand kind of thing.
Right.
They still knew then. And I remember I had a trip to San Francisco in January, in the last few days of January of 2020. I was in San Francisco. And I was just hearing in restaurants, hearing on the street, people talking about, yeah, we probably shouldn't fly. Yeah, this is, we should probably be wearing masks. When I go home, I change my clothes. People were already talking about it in a way that I wasn't hearing from my government.
Right.
And if we can't trust our government to keep people alive, and we can't trust our government to, keep the structure of how we do government in place, shutting down over a complete shutdown over a difference of opinion. It doesn't make sense. And I think there are a whole lot of people who are very angry about it, who might not articulate it. But we'll see. We'll see. I am Charlie Brown today, and I really, really, really don't want to go flying up and land on my back and be embarrassed on top of it.
Washington, D.C. Journalist Jamila Bey is with us on Coping with COVID. We're also joined by legendary comedian George Wallace. George, thank you for joining us. How are you?
Do you think I'm in? Can you hear me? Jamila, are you in? Jamila, you said everything I wanted to say.
Oh, my goodness.
George,
yay.
You don't know. You are Jamila's comedian crush.
Listen, oh, my goodness. I'm listening to her when she thinks like I think.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Well, I remember watching, half-hour comedy hour and, evening at the Improv. My parents would be all mad at me. You should be in bed, girl. And I'm like, but Ma, look, because you know what? If there was a Black person on TV, we could watch.
Somebody. Yes.
We could watch. I remember, as a Gen Xer, evening at the Improv, I got to see you, and I got to listen to all the comedians that really did more than just ask, did you ever wonder why? When you had to have a premise and a setup and just not wonder why. So yeah, I'm kind of.
Well, thank you, and I'm still doing that. I'm still trying to make people laugh today.
I got to get out to Vegas and see you live.
You got it. When I go back right now, I'm not ready to go back yet. I can wait. I've done 100,000 shows already. I can wait until this virus is gone, and I have fun here with Tre, and so that's what we're doing. And I do it with I do a lot of Zooming. I just love having fun and making up jokes. I'm sitting here getting fat, so just like I told you, she knows. Tre knows. I'm sitting here right now eating chicken and Cheerios again. Chicken and Cheerios. So, but today is a great day, and we're looking forward tonight to partying like you won't believe. because there's a change needed, and I think a change is going to be made. There's a change going to come up in here.
Well, George, I sent you this information, Jamila. There was you may have known about the DOJ report talking about how they brought in 18 states people to actually intimidate voters.
Oh, yes.
Well, they're just wasting their time because we going to vote. We in line and we going to vote. What that lady say? I brought my sandwich. I brought my snacks. I'm going to may take 18 hours, but I'm going to be here. We are going to vote and we're going to do this. And tomorrow is going to be a brand new day.
Well, but here's my thing. And Jamila is, and you didn't hear Jamila's, intro. She's a political scientist, and she's worked with NPR, and her writings have been in the New York Post, the New York Times, the New York Post, all that.
I could tell that. I was listening to her talking. I go, she's a speaker, talking, articulating, and doing all. You know what bothers me, Jamila? I want to be a wordsmith so badly, but I can't do it. I'm just, I majored in marketing and advertising. And, marketing is just another name for bullshit. So I went to the same school Donald Trump went to. So in the school of all bullshitters know each other. I mean, we don't know each other. I don't even know whether I can say that, but all BSs know each other. Yeah. So
it seems our friend Mel Brooks, when he put together History of the World Part 1, there's a scene where Comicus goes up to get his unemployment, and B. Arthur is the unemployment lady, and she says, "Oh, you're a stand-up philosopher. You're a BS artist. Did you try to BS last week?"
Did you try to BS last week?
So it's we have you watched the news lately? There's a lot of BS that passes for journalism, and it's not even about fake news. It's about when you let your 23-year-old intern, not that there's anything wrong with being 23, I used to be that long ago, but when you let your interns use Google and Wikipedia to tell stories, and then you wonder why your electorate doesn't understand,
right.
When you have very beautiful bobble-headed bleach blondes giving you the what's what of the day, and then you have somebody like me get on and go, actually, it doesn't matter what the occupant in at 1600 Black Lives Matter Plaza says. Such is a right reserved to the states. The systems in place will not allow the president to make that decision, no matter what he says. That has to go to the Congress, and then they get mad at you and scream and cut your mic, and I go, oh, well, okay.
Well, supposedly because he's getting away with everything, like he's gotten away with the health issue, like he says now he might fire Fauci. Fauci could have walked out a long time ago. He still would have had to do the same job. He'd have made more money walking out. Now, how do you sit up? I'm mad at Fauci because Fauci didn't say anything when he first found out. He knew long ago. Why didn't he stand up and say, those are lies? That's not true. And the lady, Dr. Burke, they should have said that.
Burke, right.
Well, now, I deeply believe that these are people who are more invested in the truth and the health of the American people than they are in dealing in the court of public opinion. I think that they're behaving as though all systems are normal and the usual is what it is.
But I'm going to disagree with you, my friend, because we need them to disagree at the time. There's 200,000 people that are dead. Mm-hmm. And had we prepared sooner by them disagreeing with Trump, saying, no, here's the truth. Here's the real skinny. They could have said that. He should have said he could get fired. He's still going to be the top man. If Trump fires him tomorrow, Biden's going to hire him the next day. He doesn't even need the job anymore. We believe in him more than we do Trump. And I think Trump should have stood up to him and said, and told America, here's the true story. Here's the real 411. And I think everybody would have been prepared more. And we believe that. So, because he's an enabler, just like everybody else that's around Trump. Everybody in that White House these are enablers. And who's the punk ass kid went in this morning and the rapper? What's his name? Lil Pump?
I never heard of him. I thought people were just making up a funny name.
Don't mean nothing.
Hey, Jamila. Hey, Trey. I thought I'm really out of it. I don't know this guy.
I know what I know. I don't know a lot of hip hop
and
and these
it ain't bad,
mumblers. I
right? Me
can't
either.
even. I'm
Look,
like,
Teddy
yeah.
Pendergrass didn't say nothing, so I'm okay. Luther Vandross didn't say nothing. Oh,
And
it don't
Trump
even
did
matter.
call him Little Pimp the first time. Little Pimp. Trump doesn't know who he is
Oh,
either. So
God.
it's so stupid.
So,
But
But you know,
tomorrow we hope. Go
Jamila and
ahead.
George, before we go to break and I bring in Reverend Charles Jackson, I want to ask you guys about, and Jamila, I know, we talked about this a little bit, men and voting. What seems to be what's the problem? Seems to be the concern? Is it as simple as because we've got the Kanyes and the Charlemagne's and the Ice T's or Ice Cube, whichever one of them it is, and endorsing, well, not endorsing, but kind of jumping on board. Is it that Black men of a certain age see these, folks as their, as people they look up to, and so they're just kind of following the leader, so to speak? What's the issue with Black men in voting?
Well, I'm glad we're going on a break, so that gives me time to check this out.
Okay.
Well, what it is I can't say education because I could be totally wrong. Because these guys they're old enough to know that the vote does count, and they're old enough to start thinking on their own. And I don't want to use the word stupidity, but it's somewhere in that realm and somewhere. Why not vote? Why talk if you don't vote?
Well,
are you in the game?
Right. But even like in the case of 50 Cent, are you not looking out for your people? Okay, so you're in a certain tax bracket, but what about your grandmama and them? You know what I mean? Not even people you don't know, your fans.
Jamila, you want to take this? Since we talk the same, Jamila, you can take this. It's because it's not about how much. It's not about how much money. It's not about how much money I got. I really got to help my people. Especially the more money I got, the more I got to help my people. Because after you get so much money, you don't even need that much more money. I need to help my people, and I'm always going to help They could give me $5 million tomorrow. I'm going to help my people. I'm going to keep the money, but I'm going to tell them what to do.
I believe you have a much more altruistic and educated heart than the alleged speakers for Black folk. Nobody asks Britney Spears, what do white women want? Nobody goes to, Marky Mark and ask him to bring his funky bunch over and talk about what white voters are interested in. Black folks, and I will say this forever until I can stop saying this. Our problem is that we fail to make demands. We fail to follow through on the demands that we make. And my rage about that is, there are a lot of people go, oh, Barack Obama didn't do nothing for Black people. I'm not going to say that. I think that that's a conversation that really needs to be made with some nuance, and it's easy to soundbite that poorly. But I will say, the first act Barack Obama signed into law was the Lilly Ledbetter Act, the Fair Pay Act, so that women get paid fairly.
How about that?
And the idea that, especially in a community like the one I live in, where 83% of the children are raised in single mother households.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when you pay women more, when you pay women fairly, that tide lifts all the boats. But the truth of the matter is that, my grandmama worked and did not ever get her due, and her mama before her worked and did not ever get her due. And when you put me in school and you put, Britney Spears and them in school, there are certain things that mean that, politically speaking, I may need more help from my government than somebody who never had land stolen from their family, was able to go to any school once they started letting women in the schools, was able to go to any school she wanted to go to, And so there are issues of fairness and equality that I think make a whole lot of Black folks go, they never going to give us ours. Where we can show up and vote, and they come and do a photo op at a church, but what does it mean 3 months later when they don't need our votes no more? So my issue is not necessarily that little chicken wing or whoever he is. I don't remember.
I think it was Lil Wayne. Somebody just
okay.
said,
Oh, Lil Wayne. Yeah, Lil Wayne.
Lil Wayne.
My issue is not necessarily that Lil Wayne said something dumb. Go to TikTok. Go to Instagram. All the celebrities.
It was Lil Wayne, but it was Lil Pimp yesterday.
Yeah,
Lil Pump,
Pimp. All these entertainers are saying dumb things. My issue is, I want somebody to talk policy. I want somebody to talk policy for me. And I want somebody to talk policy for me who can actually make the case about how to follow through. I don't want, it's great if community college is free for everybody, but you know what? If my cousins who went to school in Baltimore can't even get into the state school, can't even get into the University of Maryland, if my cousins that live in the Mississippi Delta can't even afford to get a car because there's no public transport to get to school, we need to talk about those infrastructure issues that make it such that I am a permanent underclass.
Yeah. And Tre, that's what I want to talk about. Because as we vote today, and we're voting heavily in Georgia, all the black people are voting everywhere. But you know what? When everybody gets in office, we got to talk. We got to make these things happen. We got to make these things happen. Day one, come on. If we get the senators in, Washington, D.C., a state right off the bat. Puerto Rico, a state right off the bat. Let's get this stuff done. Change the police policies. You don't always have to shoot a guy just because he's got a knife. You can back up as a cop. You ran before. Shoot him in the knee. Why do I have to get on the ground? I don't see you ladies don't know anything about this. Do they make the black ladies get on the ground too sometimes?
No, they just make us watch when our daddies and our brothers or our
so they make you watch the scene, right? Yeah. So I think there's a lots of things that we can do and hold them accountable, and let's be on their butts this time. This is different. Joe Biden, and it's not all about Joe Biden. Somebody say Joe Biden's got to do it. The local guys got to do it first. Okay, we're going to do our war inaugural. We're going to do all of our local people, and they're going to make these things happen, and we're going to get it done. We're going to see some changes. Accountability is the word I'm using today.
And accountability is important. George Wallace, legendary comedian George Wallace, writer and speaker Jamila Bay. We're going to come right back. We're going to go to Reverend Charles Jackson Jr. to talk about faith and politics. Then we'll come back with Jamila and George to wrap up Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor.
Legendary mean old.
No.
Coping with COVID is brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. Visit scdheck.gov for an updated list of testing sites and important information on how to protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC, healthy people, healthy communities. Also, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Log on to columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Center. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their life. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, contact Agape Counseling and Training Center at agapects.com. And Columbia Housing Authority. The agency is looking for stories from former residents of Allen Benedict Court to retain some of the property's rich history. In its 80-year life, Allen Benedict Court has been home to some of the country's elite, including a Grammy Award-winning performer, corporate executives, national television celebrities, a host of doctors, lawyers, and NBA greats. So share your pictures, mementos, and memories at chcares@chasc.org. Coping with COVID, brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Columbia Housing Authority, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connection.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
Hello, this is Jamie Devine, Chairman of the Richland One School Board. I have enjoyed being able to give back to this community that has given so much to me, and I will be honored to earn your vote to return to the board and to continue to fight for this community that has such a rich history and legacy. Please remember to cast your vote for Jamie Devine in the election for Richland One School Board, Seat 2, this November 3rd, or in advance by absentee ballot. Thank you.
Paid for by the committee to elect Jamie Devine for the Richardson 1 School Board.
Palmetto Media Connections wants to connect with you. Find and like us on Facebook and a chance to win dinner for a family of 10 for the Thanksgiving holidays. Provided by licensed caterer Deacon Eddie Green of Catering and Beyond, 201 Columbia Mall Boulevard, 803-567-3986. Connect with us for a chance to win dinner for a family of 10. Sponsored by Palmetto Media Connections, connecting media and communities together.
People will be able to look 100 years from now. They will know how we got over. This makes it even more important that we shine this light.
Part of it also wasn't the fact that we couldn't have the physical graduation, but I also couldn't celebrate with my family out of town.
For me, I feel like this is a new normal. This is not going away anytime soon, I don't think.
Anything that's happened before can happen again. And the same thing is at play with this virus.
You know, we are no longer in a building, and we've talked about church being, you know, with us, in us.
Have you traveled abroad late in the past 6 months? You know, we were trying to trace it back as early as November.
You're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. I'm Tre Tailor, and many are stressed out, scared, and concerned. People don't know what's going on, and frankly, no one does, but you've got to know how to deal with it. Reverend Charles Jackson Jr. tells us next what he feels about faith and politics. Charles, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you, sir. I think you're on mute. You're on mute. You muted yourself.
Oh, okay. Miss Tre Tailor, can you hear me? Good.
I can hear you now.
So glad to finally be on the line with you. And I'm not sure if the two guests before me can hear me, but it was, I mean, Jamila Bay was just hilarious, but hilariously profound. I was just loving to hear all of her comments. And then to hear one of my favorite comedians of all times, J. Anthony Brown. George Wallace. That's a little joke, though. I know it was George. Yeah, that's a little joke. I know it was George Wallace, but I listened to George Wallace and J. Anthony Brown go back and forth all the time on the Steve Harvey Morning Show. But George Wallace is one of my favorite comedians. I got to see him. Oh, I see he's on now. I got to see you served several years ago live in Las Vegas, man. And it was just a delight to hear you then. And now to be on this panel with you, I mean, I'm truly grateful for this, Tre. Thank you so much for having me on. So let's get started. What do we got? Can you hear me okay?
You know, we had talked a couple of weeks ago. And you said, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine, yes.
I hear you very well. It might just be the two of us talking, Reverend. Where are you based, Reverend? What city are you based in?
I'm in Columbia, South Carolina.
Oh my God,
sir.
you too? You too? Yeah. Oh my God, Columbia, South Carolina.
I know Anthony Brown spent some time in Columbia years ago, and I know, of course, he's from South Carolina.
You guys got to be happy that he's out of there. You must be happy that he's out of there. And tell my friend, my cousin, Mr. Levy, down at the funeral home that I said hello.
Oh yes. Okay. Chris Levy or I.S. Levy Johnson. Yes, sir. They're owns everything in South Carolina. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. They're actually offering a free ride to the polls today, George.
Yes, we are doing that.
So I don't think the funeral home is offering a free ride. They might drop you off some. They might. Not only will they drop you off, they'll let you down. So that's amazing. I like that. The funeral homes are offering a free ride to the polls.
In a limo.
Oh,
in
yeah.
a limo.
Oh, that's what they tell you, a limo, but you be stretched out. Yeah.
Hey, we're trying to do everything we can here in South Carolina to get people out to vote, man. It's so critical. It's so necessary that we get people out today to vote. A lot of persons have already voted early, of course, but of course, today is the day. Today is the day. We got to do it.
I love your state. I love what's happening there. I love Jamie, and I tell you what, we've had Jamie on before, and Jamie, he doesn't it seems like he represents everybody. Doesn't look like he's a black guy or white or any race. It's like he's a people's person, and you just love him just to hear him talk. I like this guy.
Oh,
so
yeah.
we hope he gets in. We hope he gets in.
He's a great guy. Our families have been friends for years, and we're supporting him. We're supporting him all the way.
You're gonna have. There's a possibility of you having two African American. I'm old, so I normally say black, but you have two black senators. Won't that be amazing? I don't know much about what's his name? Tim Scott.
Tim Scott.
Will they get along? You think the two of them?
Tim Scott and Jamie Harrison.
I just saw your eyes go down when
I just said I don't know, man. But it would be good just to have that African American representation from the state of South Carolina. I'm not sure if the two of them will be able to get along, but hopefully in a bipartisan way they can work something out.
I hope they could work it out. Yeah, because that would be good. Two black guys. They need to sit down and have dinner. They need my mama to make them sit down and talk. And
there you go.
The belt behind her. Now you say this. Bam! Now you say this.
There you go.
But that would be good. Tim Scott, he does need to get along with us better. Okay.
He's got to. Yeah.
Joe Cole, get all that. He's got to come across because, like you said, we were talking earlier, it's about the people. It's not about you, it's about the people. And Pastor, right. Everybody knows you there, and God bless you, Pastor. I want to be a preacher too, Pastor. I want to bless you. I want to stop.
Hey, now, I'll be honest with you, Mr. Wallace. I've always noticed a very close correlation, if you will, between preaching and being a comedian and telling jokes. Y'all get on stage and
Jamila's screaming, she gotta get in.
And I'm telling you, that stand-up comedy compared to preaching from the pulpit, it's very, very close, man. That's why I got so much of a respect and just a profound appreciation for comedians, particularly persons like yourself and Jamila Bay and J. Anthony Brown, Steve Harvey, and I mean, I can go now.
We do the same thing you do. We do the same thing you do. We just tell lies. We tell lies, but Jamila, let me tell you something. I want to be a preacher so bad.
Differently, y'all can cuss. Y'all can cuss from the stage. We just can't cuss from the pulpit.
Y'all be cussing. Sometimes in the study in the back, when we raise the $5,000, all them people, you got 4,000 people. Damn, that's all we raise. Y'all be raising hell in the back. I know
they'll make you cuss sometimes.
The First Amendment. Yes, sir.
Jamila, I want to be a comedian. I want to be a preacher so badly, because I tell my friend Joel Osteen, that's all he does is tell jokes every Sunday before he goes. Right? And he's got them just like that.
I'd come to your church. You come to my church. I'm gonna just tell you the truth. My mother was raised as a Southern Baptist, but about the time it came to enroll her children in school, she converted to the one true religion and made us Catholic. My daddy was Muslim, and so of course I grew up and I married a Jew. So I hold a torch for none of them. I'm about as
I love my church.
I don't subscribe to any of it, but the First Amendment gives me that right, and the First Amendment gives you Right Reverend Dr. George Wallace
you got it right
to use all the words you want to, and Reverend Charles, you got the right to go and preach your word, and you don't have to pay taxes because of the First Amendment and a whole lot. So
and that's another reason I want to be.
So being able to start a church has its benefits. But that's
got a lot of us in trouble though.
Now, okay. Now I'm gonna ask me a hella heathen question, and I want anybody to hop in on this one. Heathen. It's a heathen question. Throw water on me, it'll sizzle. But these white conservative Christians that say that this man in the White House represents them well. These white conservative Christians that bow down before somebody whose whole thing was the Romans are wrong. The Romans and the Pharisees need to be driven out of here. They do not have the mission and the business of justice and freedom at hand. These are the people running around with shirts talking about back the blue. I have a deep concern about the commingling of the white supremacy that cloaks itself in a robe and a collar and calls itself religion. And, forgive me, Look, I'm a black woman in America. All my people's either Christian or Muslim. I'm standing alone here.
Mm-hmm.
But
right now you're by yourself.
I need to hear more about. You want to talk about bringing somebody to Hill? I think these white conservative Christians need to, open their book once in a while.
Paula White and people like that. How do they deal with pastor with their religion and then they don't read like Psalms 101:7 says the deceitful and the liar shall not tarry my sight. How come they don't see verses like that?
The whole point of welcoming the traveling a stranger, but you got babies in cages because they mamas is from Spanish-speaking nations that you conquered and caused turmoil and so that they would have to flee. But I'm gonna just shut up and listen.
You're talking. You're preaching now.
Well, to be honest with you, Jamila, that all goes back to the colonial era. That all goes back to the slave trade. That goes back to institutionalized slavery, where the word of God, the Bible, was so terribly tainted and manipulated to serve a special interest, particularly a white supremacist mindset.
Sure.
And so there were certain scriptures that were not only misinterpreted, but were deliberately just left out of the Bible at all, because our foreparents, our ancestors, on a general scale could not read. We were basically illiterate. So they read it to us and they interpreted it for us. And so it helped to shape a certain mindset of what Christianity is. But when you really study the life and the ministry of Jesus Christ, who I believe to be the Son of God, it is terrible. It is so strikingly different from what has been passed down through the generations from so-called white supremacists, and even perpetuated now through these evangelicals and these white conservatives as well. Because if anything, they are more anti-Christian or anti-Christ-like than anything. Yes. And
we agree on that.
And I say this all the time, and I want to make sure that I'm speaking now as Charles Jackson Jr., Reverend Charles Jackson Jr. I may not be able to say this on behalf of my particular church, but this is me talking, and the training that I've received, the experiences that I've had, the knowledge that I have of God's word as well. But really, when you think about a lot of the platforms that they stand on, and when I say they, I'm speaking to what you're talking about, Jamila, these white conservatives and evangelicals, they are more Pharisaic than anything. And if you studied again the Gospels, the life and the ministry of Jesus, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you will know that the Pharisees were not Christians. The Pharisees were actually descendants of the early Jews or the early Israelites. And so now they are trying to say that what they're speaking is Christian, is Christ-like. It's a complete contradiction of what the truth of Christianity really is.
Ooh, you laid it out right there.
Can we get a whip and drive them out? Like, turn over some tables? I mean, that's my favorite.
I preached a sermon about 5 weeks ago entitled "It's Time to Turn the Tables." And it came from the text when Jesus himself went into the temple in Jerusalem, and they were in there selling pigeons and selling goats, and they were just trying to make money. They were commercializing the temple and what the temple was supposed to be for. Jesus went in that temple and literally turned tables over. Literally drove people out, and he said, "You have made my Father's temple a den of thieves, but it's supposed to be a house of prayer." So sometimes it's in order to turn over some tables. Sometimes it's in order to drive them out. I don't know how to exactly go about it, but it's certainly in order to do so.
I love this. I love
that. If we're going to be Christ-like, then that's the thing. It's still a difference that I believe between being Christian and being Christ-like.
Wow.
Yeah, because what a lot of people don't understand, Jesus really did not come to establish a religion. He didn't come to establish Christianity. What he came to establish was simply called the way back to God. And that's what they were called during the first century. They were called followers of the way. It was not until the church at Antioch during the first century that that Constantine and the Romans, Romans started calling the followers of Jesus Christian. So it's not about being a Christian, it's about being Christ-like.
Christ-like.
Yeah.
It's about being like Jesus.
Man, you're talking today. You are preaching today. I think I would love to hear this sermon. Oh, that should be taught everywhere you go. You can teach that every Sunday.
And people get that mixed up. People get that switched around, Charles. Don't you think that, and everybody, like, to Jamila's point, everybody's screaming, I'm a Christian, I'm a Christian, I'm a Christian. And that could mean anything.
Right.
What it doesn't mean is that you are a follower of Christ, that you are Christ-like. That's the misnomer.
Christ-like.
Yeah.
Christianity is the religion. Christ-likeness is the relationship.
Right.
And it's the relationship.
It's
the relationship with Jesus that makes a difference.
And
People can use religion and twist it and turn it and taint it and misinterpret it as much as they want. I mean, they've used religion to oppress our people, like we just said, for 400 years, 400 plus years. But when you've got a relationship with him, it does not let you do things that will harm people, that will oppress people, that will suppress people. It makes you love everybody.
It'll make you do the right thing. It'll make you do the right thing. See, if I were to run for office, I couldn't run as a politician.
I couldn't either.
All I want to do is do the right thing. I want to do what's good for you, for the people. All I want to do is do the right thing. And right from wrong. It's not doing some of these bad things, Jamila, you talked about, separating the parents from the kids.
Yeah.
Christ would never do anything like that. All of the bad things that he's doing against us and all of against the people and lying to the people.
No,
as a president, as a leader.
How do you claim to be a Christian and then turn down the Medicaid expansion? Like Jesus walked around healing people. Like how all your constituents are diabetic and overweight and got asthma and need glasses. And I'm speaking for the sight impaired community. Without my contacts, and I need a dog. How do you deny?
Me too, Jamila.
You deny people medication that will keep them alive.
Right.
But
because you lack the relationship. Because you have the name. Yeah, you got the title. But
the Christians the so-called Christians that follow him, let's say the religious people that follow him, how do they follow him and they know he's deceitful? They know he's a liar. They know he's wrong. How can you be a Christian and say, I'm going to go with this guy?
It's all about wanting to maintain power. That's all it is.
Does power mean money?
Yeah, of course.
Stature.
Yeah, of course, money speaks power. Yeah, but that's it. That's it. It's maintaining power. And I believe because you have some that say, well, I'm not voting for the man, I'm voting for the party. I'm voting for the Republican Party and the policies of the party. But you can't separate the president from the party. You can't separate the man from the party. So you're still voting for the man. So you're still giving some type of credence to the character of that man, which is completely opposite from what a Christ-like character should be. But it's all about maintaining power.
That's what I was talking about. Dr. Fauci and all of the Republicans that are following him, they are enablers. They know he's wrong, but I'm going to stick with you. They know it's the devil, but I'm going to ride with the devil. Well, keep riding with the devil.
George Wallace joins us, a journalist and speaker, Jamila Bay, and Reverend Charles Jackson Jr. with New Laurel Street Baptist Church. Shakita Rich says, we hear you, Pastor Danielle Lake. Thank you so much. She was talking about the essence of Christianity. And to Erica Taylor Lewis said, that's good. Thank you, ladies, so much for watching Coping with COVID. Please continue to post and share this message out so we can get it to the masses. Now, we are past our 1 hour time. We have 3 minutes and 35 seconds past our time.
We need a 4-hour morning morning show.
Right, and we're having a great conversation. So I don't want to keep you if you've got to go. Jamila, George, Charles, I know that you wanted to, really share some information. So, like I said, Jamila and George, if you've got to go,
I'll be quiet. No. I'll sit here and just listen to Jamila and the pastor. Y'all go ahead. I ain't got nowhere. If I did have somewhere to go, it can wait.
I'm
already
voting. I don't want to look at. I'm terrified to look at numbers.
Wow.
I don't really have to start doing that until about 7 this evening. But it's
we're gonna be on live tonight. You guys should watch us tonight. I'm gonna be on with Sybil tonight at 8:00. We're gonna do the whole game, and we're gonna do the wrap up on Sybil Wilkes Live on YouTube, Facebook.
And on
so
Facebook.
Check us out, and we're gonna be talking about the roundtable wrap up. And I hope
it's you and Sybil, and who else? Who else is gonna be on? Do you know, George?
You got you got Myra J. You got Chris Paul. You got Damon Wayans. You got the lawyer lady from Atlanta, Miss Hoka. What's her name? She's president of NBA, National Black Attorneys Association.
Okay.
You got Coy. I forgot Coy's last name. We got some heavy people on, and we're gonna just have some fun. We got so many comedians on. I don't know what we're gonna say funny because we're gonna be rejoicing tonight. I hope we gotta rejoice tonight because we're voting. We are voting this time. Detroit is not gonna let us down like they did the last time. And Georgia, Stacey Abrams lost by 55,000. And since she lost by 55,000, since then, we have registered over 800,000 new voters. And that's
Forgive me, sir. She did not lose. The process was how the
Go ahead.
Okay, no swearing. Okay. What had happened was the Attorney General who was over the race,
Secretary of State.
I said Attorney General. Thank you, the Secretary of State. Forgive me. My aspiration was to be Stacey Abrams' stunt double because I could look just like that people and I could pass.
You can do it too. You can do it.
Look at her smile. Look.
Yeah.
I wanted to do that in my aspiration. But yeah, the Secretary of State and the race that he's overseeing decides that the voting is done. No more votes get counted. And what banana republic, hooty tooty back world, blank hole country would the UN not be in there going, no, this is what we call an illegitimate election. But it happened in the U.S. It happened in the blackest part of the blackest state of this union.
Exactly.
And so it was allowed to stand. She didn't lose. I'm not
Jamila.
Passionate.
Jamila, had I been Secretary of the State of Georgia, guess what? I would have won too.
Yeah, and if one of my siblings was, the governor of a state, in a contested election, I'd have won too. But that's George Bush and his little brother Jed, from 2000. So they've been at this a long time, and that's why I'm having anxiety. Because they know how to gum up the works. They know how to completely, they don't have to derail the whole train. If they just knock over 2 of the middle compartments, the whole back slides off and everything gets pulled around. They don't have to put the effort into knocking all systems off. I don't trust that things will go the way they are designed to go. Now, I would love to be wrong. But the fact that they just put a justice on the Supreme Court and this occupant at 1600 Black Lives Matter Plaza is talking about, well, we're going to go to the courts. I mean, even in a 3rd grade English class, the teacher would have to say, honey, that foreshadowing is way too obvious. Like, I know you're 8, but you can do better than that.
Yeah. So Charles,
let me.
I want to get. I want to come to you because Jamila's anxiety is really, encompasses what a lot of people are feeling right now. They're scared. They're cautious. They're anxious. So you say what as a believer?
Well, I want to say this, and I'll reiterate what Jamila's twin, Stacey Abrams, said several days ago to a group in Georgia as they were, talking about flipping Georgia, of course, from red to blue. She said this. She said, "Don't panic, report it." She said, "Don't panic, report." She said, once you've done your part, don't panic. She said, if you see something, crazy happening at the polls or even after, today, after the election, she said the DNC has lawyers all over this country who are ready to fight for what's right, who are ready to go to bat for us and to defend the proper election process. So she just said, don't panic. Don't panic, report it. Now, I know there is a lot of anxiety, but fear. I believe that if we do our part, and I heard someone say, if you do the right thing for the right reason at the right time, God is going to bless it. It's bound to work. If you do the right thing for the right reason at the right time. And that's why it is so important for us to get out and vote. As much as they may try to circumvent the process, as much as they may try to quote unquote steal the election, I think if enough of us get out and vote, then I don't think they'll be able to do anything with us. I don't think there's been a time in our history when the voting, the percentage of African Americans has risen above 60 or 65%. Right. But so if 75% of us can just get out and vote and we win this thing by a landslide, it's not much that they can do. It's not much that they can do. But we seriously have to get out and vote. Of course, like I said, from my pulpit, I can't really tell people who to vote for, even though I'm still doing a little more studying on that, because some of them on the far right, I understand they'll get up and they'll endorse, they'll promote a certain candidate all the time. But again, I think that goes back to some of the manipulating of the black church and the black pastor through the generations. So we feel like this separation of church and state, is something that's so binding, that we can't find a loophole ourselves, because what they're trying to do is silence the church from the state. That's silence the black church from the state. But, so I'm going to be a little careful with that right now, but I'm going to make sure everybody knows who I'm voting for. Everybody who knows me knows who I'm voting for. But the main thing. I know you, but I don't know who you're voting for, but I know who you better be voting for. Oh, you already, hey, you can just hear how I'm talking, Mr. Wallace, and you know who I'm voting for.
Now, Pastor and Jamila and Trey, one thing I've been worried about, we were talking about anxiety. Now, I'm concerned about everybody went out to early voting. And I'm wondering, how are the early voting, how are they tabulated? Do they hold in the machine? I mean, because when these machines go back, do they go to a bank? I mean, who programs the machines? Which direction? I don't know where. I might lose some of these votes. I don't know where these votes are going right now. All of these early voting that we did. I worry about that, because like Secretary of State, they also program the machines. Do all the machines go back to the precinct, or they just get on the truck and go somewhere? I worry about little things like this.
Yeah.
Well, Jamila, you can jump in, but I was going to say it's not so much the machine, because the data in the machine goes, to a clearing house.
That's what you think. That's what I'm talking about. Because everything can be manipulated through the program.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
That's exactly what happened in Georgia. That's what Jamila was talking about.
Yeah.
We saw 4 years ago that a 13-year-old 8th grader said, I can hack this Diebold machine and I'll show you how I did it. We recognized that, I can't remember her name, but she's Donald Trump's daughter, not the one that he broke up with her mother for not having an abortion, the other one, Ivanka. There we go. Yeah, that daughter, Ivanka, who takes everywhere. She's got stock in voting machines.
Wow.
She's investing in the company that makes these. Now, under normal circumstances, would be a clear, issue of
conflicting.
I would say, conflict of interest is simple enough, but I mean, this is shenanigans and chicanery afoot right about here. But it's allowed to go on. again, voting is a right reserved to the state. So what this means is that Mississippi has its way of doing it. Pennsylvania has its way of doing it, whether it's, if it's a state board or if it's done, through counties or jurisdictions. So there are 50 different ways, 51 plus, Guam and, the U.S. Virgin Islands. So there are 60 different ways of doing this. Now, what we know is that Georgia, North Carolina, these are two states, Massachusetts, but Massachusetts is tiny. These are places where voting tabulations happen kind of as they go on. So when votes come in, they're tallied. So when you hear North Carolina, when you hear Georgia, at the end of this evening, they pretty much have all the votes they go and count. Some will trickle in. I don't know offhand all the different deadlines, but there are states that will continue to count votes until November 13th.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, I think North Carolina was one of those states too, right?
Yeah, North Carolina is one of the states. Now, if we had a Department of Justice that wasn't run by a damn crony who, who's in the, I'll keep it clean, in the pocket of this administration, sucking at the teat of this administration. See how
real close. You coming real close.
We could trust that the DOJ would do what the DOJ is supposed to do, but this Department of Justice has no interest in it, and it just makes me angry because I wasted all this money going to school to study how this stuff works, and they threw it all out the window. And I should have been one of those girls gone wild in the 90s that just traveled with a ball player boyfriend and did nothing but wear clothes and look cute. But no, I had to go and learn government. What good has it done me now?
I think it's going to help you. I think it's going to do some good.
Oh my goodness, you should be on the comedian circuit. That's what you should
Well,
be.
but George, that's the other thing I was going to say. When you missed it. Jamila is actually getting her master's in comedy writing and satire.
Wow.
You can get a degree in that?
I know. I was like, wow, I'm going back. It's a British program, Falmouth University, and I have a distinct advantage because so much of the political comedy is about how Americans don't know what the heck they're doing. And I'm like, I can explain that. And this is why the Jesse Jackson sketch was funnier than you knew. So yeah, it's great.
Well, what you don't know is that what's going to happen as you study. Do you know that you're going to wind up teaching a class? You can teach the class, let alone be a student, because you're going to talk. When the instructor's trying to talk, you're going, no, but this. Jamila, you can do that in America. You already have a master's. You need to go directly to the stage right now.
Wow. I have done, and full disclosure, I have done some stand-up in the past, and
no, you haven't. Not what you need to do, because I got to listen to you no matter what. You just did a comedy act just here on the show with us.
She did.
I know that's right.
I don't have no sense. I think that's what it's about. But oh my, like, you have no idea. You have no idea. I was like, okay, I'm going to be on punishment and I can't go to Nicole's birthday party because this is 1987, because I'm watching, what was it? The MTV half-hour comedy hour, and I know that Mario I know that Mario Joyner and George Wallace is going to be on it, and I'm gonna watch it, and I'm gonna get in trouble, and I can't go to Nicole's birthday party, but I'm gonna watch it anyway because that's what I want to do. And then my dad came in and saw me watching MTV, and I wasn't loud, but you was on, so I watched. And Nicole got mad at me, and we wasn't best friends no more. And only thanks to Facebook have I reconnected with Nicole for not coming to her party. But I get to talk to George Wallace, and you tell me you think I can, you want to listen to me? Like, my life is made. Oh, my God. Ooh.
Pastor Trey, would you just tell her she just did a bit? She just
she did. She's been doing it since she came on. She really has.
Oh, my God. We have to invite you to just come out and talk. And I have to have you on stage with me. When I come to Columbia, where are you located? You're in
I'm
Washington,
in Washington, D.C.
Well, I play Constitution Hall every February around Valentine's Day. You have got to come out and say something.
I think she's a natural, Mr. Wallace.
Let's put it like this. She's smarter than me. She's smarter than me. She's smarter than I am.
You gonna make me mess up my eyeliner. It took me, like, I kept poking myself trying to put it on.
Hey, I'm a comedian. And you know I'm a comedian right now. I just gave you all your accolades about being smart. Your eyelids was messed up when you first came on. No, see, that's how comedians talk. But you are so wonderful, young lady.
Yeah.
So, and Pastor, I have enjoyed your sermon today, like you won't believe it. We have to talk to you again too, because you laid it out. You know, being Christian and being Christ-like.
Right.
You know.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
And all them people in the
just wanna
Middle East
encourage
had
everybody
hair
to
of
pray.
lamb's wool. Those were not white people interested in white supremacy. You
Couldn't
know,
be.
there was
be.
no way.
I've never seen a white man with hair like lamb's wool.
No.
Or feet like polished brass.
Exactly. So, you know, my you know what, I beg your forgiveness. I'm getting texted because I actually have to look at something.
Well, Jamila, thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate
you for having me. It has
Absolutely.
been my honor and my pleasure. You know, we must stay in touch.
Trey, give her my information.
I will, George.
Trey will be the mediator.
I will.
We'll stay connected through Trey some kind of way.
And listen, if y'all hook up in February at Constitution Hall, let me and Charles come and hang out.
Absolutely.
You still got to buy
let me take a page.
You still got to buy
take a page out of my dad's. Let me take a page out of my dad's book. He's the senior pastor at the Brookland Baptist Church in West Columbia, South Carolina, where Trey is a member at. And because I want to encourage people to pray.
Yes.
But he always says, particularly during this election year, put some legs on your prayers.
Faith without works is dead.
Faith without works. There you go.
That's
you got
right.
it, Jamila. Faith without works is there. So we're hopeful, we're prayerful, we're faithful, but we've got to do the work. We've got to do the work. And our work right now, again, is to just get out and vote.
Absolutely.
And then we're going to go celebrate. Huh?
Yes. I want you to go to Isaiah 20 and 26 and 20 and read that about come into my house, stop and lock yourself inside. I want you to read that scripture also. 26 and 20, Isaiah. Take a look at. I'm from Dr. Charles E. Blake. Okay, Church of God in Christ. Okay, let's make that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Bishop William Shields.
I'll look at that.
Georgia. Yes, sir. And it's an honor to meet you, sir. God bless you.
Honor to meet you too. Honor to meet you too.
Right.
I look forward to meeting you in person someday.
Charles, thank you so much for joining. I don't know if you got out what you wanted to get out, but thank you for joining.
Oh yeah, I got more out of it than what I wanted to get out. So
that's good. That's good.
You know, hopefully it was all for the better.
Charles Jackson Jr. George, thank you again so much for joining us. I appreciate
I am so happy. My day has been made. Thank you so much. You have made my day. I wanted to get better after we get the news tonight about our candidate. But God bless us. God bless us all. I love you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Now, a lot of preachers take my saying.
No, that's a good benediction.
That's from George Wallace. I love you.
That's a good benediction.
Nothing you can do about it.
All right. George Wallace,
too,
Charles Jackson Jr., thank you guys both so much for joining us today on Coping with COVID. Before George left me, texted me this prayer earlier today. I want you to take a look at it as we leave. Listen, if you have a story that could help someone cope with COVID, please go to the Tailor Made Productions page and let me know, and we would love to feature you on Coping with COVID. If you have a product or service that could help someone cope with COVID, please email copingwith@gmail.com, and we would love to make you a proud sponsor of Coping with COVID, just like SCDHEC, In It Together, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, and also Palmetto Media Connections and Agape Counseling and Training Center. Now, tomorrow on Coping with COVID, we are going to have Wellness Wednesday. DHEC and In It Together presents Wellness Wednesday. We're going to talk about diabetes and stress, and also a collaboration between USC and DHEC. And then Thursday, it's time to enroll in the Affordable Care Act. We'll talk with Joel Laurie. That's tomorrow and Thursday on Coping with COVID. As always, I usually leave you with a reading from Jesus Calling, but George, can you read this prayer? Can you read this prayer that you gave me?
No, you read that for me, okay? I place before you the election. Do it before the election takes place in our nation. Do it for me because you read much better than I do.
Okay. I place before you the elections taking place in our nation and humbly ask you to intervene on behalf of your people. I ask you to disarm evil and silence the voice of deception. I ask you to move hearts and minds, even those who do not know you, to vote according to your precepts. I ask you to raise up leaders who seek to honor you as they govern. And I ask you, God, to bring the people of our nation to a place of humility and submission to your lordship.
In Jesus' holy name.
Amen. Thank you, George Wallace. Thank you so much again for joining us for Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor. Until the next time, I wish you peace and abundant blessings. Please be careful, be safe. Don't forget to vote, and don't forget to wear your mask over your nose and under your chin. Just like George Wallace.
Coping with COVID is brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. Visit scdheck.gov for an updated list of testing sites and important information on how to protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC, healthy people, healthy communities. Also, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Log on to columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Center. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their life. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, contact Agape Counseling and Training Center at agapects.com. And Columbia Housing Authority. The agency is looking for stories from former residents of Allen Benedict Court to retain some of the property's rich history. In its 80-year life, Allen Benedict Court has been home to some of the country's elite, including a Grammy Award-winning performer, corporate executives, national television celebrities, a host of doctors, lawyers, and NBA greats. So share your pictures, mementos, and memories at chcares@chasc.org. Coping with COVID, brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Columbia Housing Authority, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connection.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.